What's going on, Soul Tribe? I salute the divinity in you, and welcome to my channel, Alchemist. Justin here, and bringing a little nugget to add to the Soul Tribe archive. And in today's video, I'm going to be talking about the Sun in Pisces in the third house. And this is a neat placement, I think, for the Sun to be in. Now, when you talk about that bright old sun, the sun is the higher light of the mind. This is the connection to that source energy. I like to think of it as a thing that fuels the body, that gives us purpose and action and movement. But it's different from Mars, where we're thinking about that drive and that wanting to conquer something. This is striving for our highest placement, reaching that state of quote unquote kingliness. And it doesn't matter, it's not a gender specific reading. But whatever that sense of being in one's light, that expression of true will, the thing that lights up the rest of the chart, that's the sun. So, and especially too, if you have a day chart, you want to pay attention to that sun. How's that sun doing? Now, when we talk about Pisces is traditionally ruled by Jupiter, and they are the mutable water sign, and they are receptive or yin in nature. And with Jupiter being their ruler, when you're thinking about that, Pisces has this endless capacity for connection, for really kind of they're really kind of like this kind of bottomless ocean in a sense. There's this oneness that Pisces has with everything that is around it, from the people to the animals to the plants to the various levels, that there is to feel. Pisces is a receptacle for that, and it's one that's just ever expanding again because of Jupiter. And so I think that's what leads to that really kind of heightened creative, imaginative qualities of Pisces, because they're really pulling from the collective consciousness. There's just a constant stream that's full of porousness that is associated, I think, with Pisces. There's this sensitivity, but not just being sensitive, but feeling that kind of strong intuitive energy, when we're sensing with this, being able to sense the elusive things that are hard to grasp, just to be able to feel through it. And I think that Pisces too, because of that oneness, has the ability, I think, to help move others through and bring things that we've only could imagine to life, and it just make it larger than life, So I think that there's something really wonderful there with the Pisces energy. And then you talk about the third house. The third house in traditional astrology was known as the house of the goddess, and it's one of the Caden houses. And some of the themes that this house covers are going to deal with like siblings, especially like family or like relatives. This could be with like friends as well, your neighbors, just kind of like your community, your immediate environment. This can deal with learning and covers writings, communication. It can deal with travel, and there's sort of like short travels and short journeys. This can get into even like sacred rites and dreams and divination. That's some things that the third house can cover. There's a very busy house. But when we're talking about this placement, a few things to consider. One, you would have a Capricorn rising by whole sign, and you're going to want to look to Big Papa, because Jupiter's going to be responsible for this house and for your 12th house, which deals with like enemies, loss, confinement, sickness, sorrows, things like that. And then the sun is going to be responsible for your eighth house, which deals with like death, inheritances, and the monies and possessions of others, and as well as like some occult studies, which we'll get into that here in a moment. But one thing that I would explore with this placement is I find, especially that dream aspect. What does your dream life look like? What is your relationship with sleep? Do you find yourself, especially with Pisces having the sun there, that could be a really rich place for you to learn a lot about yourself and to be able to share that with others. I think that that would be a very great, this would be a very great placement to have a dream journal, or maybe even look to someone who, especially if you have any sort of like recurring dreams or things like that, maybe could even be a touch of, maybe prophecy that comes with this, that comes in that sort of dream space. I would explore that. There are people that have services out there for that. So, but definitely, if not anything else, keep a dream journal. See what that looks like for you. But I think that that's something else with this, just even where you go for like your daydreams, when you find yourself just kind of like, maybe when you're just sort of looking out at the clouds, or just where does your head go, when you're floating between spaces there, because even thinking about how the sun rules at eighth house, those realms when we're floating, because even just like sleep, it's just, in death, have such a very close inner, relationship there. But I think there could even be something there too, even with this like spirit, as far as like maybe having a connection as far as like with spirits, with that third house, maybe even being able to act as some sort of channel. But of course, we're look into that responsibly, especially with Pisces energy. But that may be something where you've maybe noticed that from early on, that's been a part of your environment. Maybe you could always have a sense for the supernatural, maybe. So not that to say that that's going to be everyone, but that would be something where I would at least explore that, see what's going on with there. But I found even too that maybe there might be. I find with that, dealing with the death, there could this fascination maybe for history. Sometimes thinking about past things, so that might even be something that comes up for you. And maybe even creating your own sort of like things. Just thinking about how those themes can flow together. With that third house, maybe you happen to do writings on like the macabre, or maybe not so gruesome, but maybe it's like, maybe have a fascination or liking towards like murder mysteries, or towards like maybe those sort of like thrillers, or again maybe those sort of like supernatural, maybe kind of ghost stories, or maybe those like kind of near death experiences. Maybe that might be something even that's like a fascination, or maybe something where you might learn something from that, or maybe know someone, maybe a friend, family member who's had some sort of experience with that, and see how that changes things. But so those would be, that's just one kind of space. I think something neat there. But just something too I would pay attention to, especially if you do have siblings, or just thinking about things where we're sharing resources and properties, inheritance, that may be something that comes up, especially in the family space there. So just paying attention to how it is that you do share with others. How do we, what are our intentions with this like family legacy. What are we going to do with our kind of keep this sort of generational wealth going, to kind of fuel this thing, this kind of investment that we've built up there. That might even be something too, maybe even doing maybe getting some education as far as like learning about maybe different taxes, different kind of financial things where you're managing other people. Maybe you do your taxes for your family or for your friends, things like that. So that might even be something where you can get in even a little side cash in there with that. So that would be something to think about. Another thing that I could even see this as, maybe someone, what I would say too with this, making sure to have a place maybe to go, or to even kind of like travel to, maybe when you happen to be dealing with maybe those kind of like tougher times, when we're dealing with things around loss and stuff like that. One, of course, just being able to have some alone time too, but being able to have that sense of community as well, with the family and siblings if we have them, friends, I think would of course be a very important thing. And that's something, again, pay attention to how you've grown up, or how you growing up, how that sort of sharing of things, how that reciprocity has shown up in your relationships. But I would think too, even just like with third house, having relationships with like your community, your neighbors. You don't have to be where we're hosting dinners every day, but at least just being able where when we see each other, we're stopping and at least we're saying hey to each other, if we're just talking about the weather. Because you never know when you may need something for them or when they may need something for you, and to be able to have that, maybe when you happen to be in a bind, it's good to be able to not feel like you have to meet each other under stressful circumstances. You know what I mean? So I think that that's something too that I think would be very important for this. And yeah, one thing that I would even explore, to even just like a little resource to maybe to look into, just kind of circling back to that occult studies. There's this really great podcast, Living Thelema. It's a book too. Actually, I think I have it. Yeah. Yeah, this is a really great book. I would explore that. If that's something, if you are an active reader like that, and if that resonates with you, I think that there'd be something there too to think about. Because you are thinking too, what is it that you want to leave behind? What is it that you're sharing with your friends, your family, your community, those that you're sharing resources with? What does that gift that you're leaving behind look like there? So yeah, but I could just see this as a very inspired son, especially again in that sense of that dream world, the imagination. So allow yourself to play in that space and allow yourself some time to do that, or maybe even make it where it's like a sort of like a family thing, where you're inviting brothers over, maybe have some sort of like paint night or something like that. That could be really fun, but yeah, those would be just some general themes and things that I would talk about with someone with this placement. You definitely need the whole chart to get a better idea of how this placement may be coming up. But if you have this placement or know someone who's working with this placement, down in the comment section, let us know how has shown up for you, how this is manifest, how you've been working with, and how you've come to understand this energy as you're going along on your journey. And if that's something that you want to get a better feel on, down in the description box, there's a link to book a consultation with me. We go over natal astrology or go over different electional astrologies that come up. Those are going to be my main sort of practices, and offer some other services as well, tarot card readings, I Ching readings, things like that. And if you have any questions about that, my email's down there as well, so definitely feel free to reach out to me. And then there's a couple links for some playlists for some other things that I do on this channel. One that deals with the lunar shenanigans and the feel of each day, how we may be kind of feeling when the moon reaches peaks of different aspects, and how to work with those energies. And similar things with the Celestial News Weekly, talks about the sun and the traditional planets, what aspects are going, what signs are going to be most impacted, and again how to most practically work with those energies. So definitely check that out if that's something you want to look into. But until next time, stay mindful out there. Keep raising that vibration through the roof. And I will catch you on the next one later.